Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it. Break it down. Let's drop the beat. 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 Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Healed up. Healed. Healed up. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's pick it up. Lucio coming at you. Coming at you. Yeah, time to heal up. Oh, turn it up. Up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up in my headphones. My headphones. Turn it up in my headphones. Audio medic. Audio medic. Audio medic. Move to the beat. Boost. Boost. Oh, this is my jam. Time to accelerate. Alright, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. Back in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it. Break it down. Let's drop the beat. Beat. Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Healed up. Healed. Healed up. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's pick it up. Lucio coming at you. Coming at you. Yeah, time to heal up. Oh, turn it up. Up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up in my headphones. My headphones. Turn it up in my headphones. Audiomatic. 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 Move to the beat. Boost. Oh, this is my jam. Time to accelerate. Alright, it's 5.
All right, we are live with another episode of Off the Wall, powered and sponsored by CGL Console Gaming League, also sponsored by SoSickClothing.com. And today we have an expert at hunting monsters, Mr. Dig Dug, Dak908. How you doing, brother?
Yo, I'm good, bro. I'm good. Thank you for having me out here, yo.
It's good, man. It's good. I think it's really good because when we did the show announcing the streamers that were for CGL, it was as much of a surprise to me as it was to everyone else, because they did tell me, like, obviously that I was one of them because I was on the show, right? Like I knew the list of people, but then, but I also saw the list and I was like, man, I don't really know a lot of these people, but I'm looking forward to like learning a lot about a lot of these people because they're obviously good at what they're doing. And they're good at those games, and I'm interested in a lot of these other games. So I'm looking to learn a lot about this interview. So let's get it started. I think the best way to always learn about somebody is to go all the way to their origin story. Let's go to your gamer origin story and talk about what was some of the first games and platform that you played on.
Okay. So my gaming origin story it's a long one. Like, I was just thinking literally today at work, I'm like, yo, I've been playing games for like 20 some odd years. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So
yeah.
Like my first console, like, I'll never forget it. My mother, she brags about it all the time. It was an NES. I was 3 years old and I was playing, Super Mario. And I would get so frustrated because this is way back in the day when like difficulty was nice. Like, the reason why games were difficult before is because they didn't have that many games, so you had to really appreciate what you had.
Yeah.
Instead of just like blazing through them. But I always knew that the mushrooms made you bigger, but then they had a different mushroom that killed you. And yo, I would run into that mushroom all the time. I get so salty as like a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, but I kept playing. And from there, I kept playing. I progressed into the Super Nintendo era. That's really where I got my legs for sure, because I played more Mario and things like that, but that's when I really picked up like things like Street Fighter or whatever. And then we had an arcade nearby, and my dad, he would like send me out there. I play out there with other people. I get washed. Like, don't get it twisted. I'm like 6 years old. I'm getting washed, but I love going.
Yeah.
And then years and years after that, the main system, the main line I stayed with was like Nintendo based systems. So like the 64 I got at the GameCube, I got a Nintendo Wii U, currently the Nintendo Switch, et cetera. But I also dabbled in everything else. But it's like I knew where my heart was, but I would play everything,
Right.
But it wasn't until I want to say 2008. All right, 2008, my brother, he got me a PSP for my birthday, and also with that, he gave me Monster Hunter, and I played it for a little bit. Like, yo, let me see what this game was about, and it was real interesting because I got to like slay monsters or whatever, but it was mad hard. I was like, son, the tiniest things were just completely decimating me. It was very strenuous. So I'll admit, I put the game down for a minute. You know what I mean? Like, it was just too. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna mess with this. Whatever. It's annoying me, so I set it down. And then like later on that summer, like right before school started back up, I actually said, you know what? Sit down, play it. Just go through it. You know what I mean? Forget you raging all the time. Forget all the rage quitting. Just get in and see how you like it. So I sat down and for like a solid week straight played nothing but that game. And then that's when I knew this was gonna be the one for me. And then going into 2010, they made a sequel to it, but it was on the Nintendo Wii, and I picked that up. And that was the first time, real talk, 2009 was the first time I even experienced the internet because like like where I lived, we lived like in the bushes. So it was you weren't just gonna get like the internet and we didn't even have it in school. People didn't even have it like where they live. So when I actually finally got it, it was crazy. And I was like, wow, these are other people I'm playing with, and then
Yeah.
I told myself like I'm not saying I was the best, but I was pretty
Right.
nice. Like I used to
Right.
grind mad hard. And then when I'm playing with people online, I'm like, yo, no disrespect, but it was kind of ass. I'm like, yo, a lot of you guys are ass. Like, what is going
Yeah.
on? So I was like, man, how can I help these people? And then the following, what was it, like Christmas break, my cousin came down. Like, I'm gonna give you guys the whole origin, the whole, not just game, the whole thing, the whole origin story. My cousin came down from college. I was still in high school. I was a senior in high school. And he was like, yo, guys, I've been playing Call of Duty 4. I was like, yo, what is this Call of Duty 4? And then, he showed us this. We was playing. Yo, when I say I thought I was hooked on Monster. I've never been so hooked on a game before in my life. Yo, we would play that from, let's say we start playing it like 12 noon, right? 12 noon the next day, we would probably take a break. Dead serious. We just pass control, just playing all day, nothing but Call of Duty 4. And that's what got me interested in like making videos, because it was through the same game that he showed me YouTube, of course, because I didn't know what the heck, I didn't know what internet was. I didn't know what YouTube was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He showed me YouTube. He showed me these Call of Duty montages, and I was like, yo, these sons are sick. I like them. I want to make my own. And so eventually I did make my own YouTube channel. I actually recycled cans, like a lot of cans, and did a lot of odd jobs to buy a capture card to make my own YouTube videos. And literally the rest is history. For like the past 10, almost 11 years now, I've been making YouTube videos. And it's all because I started playing Call of Duty. But once the successors to the last Monster Hunter game I was playing, the Monster Hunter game before was Monster Hunter Try 3. 3 Ultimate, which was like, honestly, like the ultimate version. It would take the basis for the same game you were playing and add like a whole new game inside of that game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would be it feel like comfortable because you were literally just playing that game, but then they add like mad more stuff to it. A lot of new monsters, new areas, new weapons, etc., etc. So once that game came out, that's when I really started making Monster Hunter YouTube videos and things like that, and trying to teach people how to not be ass, because it was tough. Okay, it was tough. Like when in a game where you rely, just like Overwatch, you know what I mean? You rely on your teammates, right? You rely on your teammates like a lot.
Right.
But when you go in there and you're like, all right, guys, I'm wearing this, which is very good against my man over here. Let's say he's fire.
Yeah.
You want to wear something that's resistant to fire, so you're not catching on fire the entire time, taking extra damage.
Right.
So I'm in there smart, like they're in there with weapons and armor that either have no skills, because once you, okay, I'm gonna make it real easy. If you wear a set of armor,
right,
each piece, there's head, torso, waist, arms, and boots. Each piece has points into certain skills. So like you have a skill where you have more health, or you have a skill where you do more attack, or you have a skill where you have higher critical damage, things like that. And most armor sets have about 3 to 4 skills. Some people would just wear stuff. It don't match. There's no skills. They have no resistances. They go in to get clean clocked. You know what I mean? So yeah. I was trying to teach people how to not do that, how to understand what the armors are for, understand what the monster is doing, so that way we can all successfully win. Because when you go into a team game like this and no one knows what they're doing, no one's having a good time. There's few people who know what they're doing, you know what I mean? Some old heads. But I was like, yo, there's the gap is too far in between. Like finding a good group of people versus a group of bad people was very, very, very like wow. Like 10% of the time you find a good group, but the rest it was bad. So I was like, yo, we have to do something about this. I have to teach people. And that was literally the reason why I started doing this. Because I got tired of going into a room and getting waxed because I'm the only one who knew what to do or whatever. So I made Monster Hunter guides and videos and tutorials and top 5s and et cetera for like the past 7 years, just so that way I can teach people to enjoy the game even more. Because a hard thing to get people to understand is that the game is even more rewarding once you know how to actually get good, because the game is very unforgiving in the beginning. Like I said, it's mad hard. It is difficult. Okay. There is no tutorial. They say, hey, welcome to Monster Hunter. Go fight this thing. You're like, well, how do I fight? And then you get smashed. And the people are like, yo, this is ass. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's a huge learning curve.
I try to help bridge the gap. Yeah, the learning curve, yo, it's not even a curve. It's a 90-degree angle. It's like
it's a steep.
It's hard. You know what I mean? It's just like no. Like
hey, go climb this cliff real quick.
Real talk. Like go climb a cliff. No cliff climbing gear. None of that action. Just go do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So after years and years of teaching people, I finally felt like, I'm not saying like my work is done, but I feel confident enough to where I can honestly say that there's a large group of hunters out there who know what they're doing. Because your boy. And that's the only solace I'll take from that. Like, I know I'll try not to be real ego about this, but it makes me feel good even to this day when people tell me, yo, you're the reason why I got into the game. You're the reason why I do this. Like, I watch your videos for so long and I've gotten so much better. Like, things like that. It really humbles you, makes you feel good. And I don't want to get a big head over this, but I really like hearing stuff like that, because it lets me know that all my efforts weren't for naught. Like, I felt like all my years of trying to explain things to people have helped. Not just myself, but like the game in general.
Right.
So it makes me happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, you're making it more enjoyable for not just yourself, which I'm assuming that was part of the thing, right? You were trying to make it enjoyable for yourself in the sense that, listen, I don't want a bunch of Leroy Jenkins in here just going in and let's hunt some monsters. Let's go and let's just go in.
It used to be bad, man. I mean, you go into like okay, there was this one monster. His name was Goble. He is a master of underwater. So you don't go underwater to go see him, because odds are you're gonna get clapped.
Right.
I'm like, all right, guys, we're gonna fish him out. You fish him out. He can't really fight too well on land. If you go in the water, he has the advantage. You don't have the advantage.
Right.
First thing you do is jump smack in the water. You go in the water and get waxed. And the thing is, the coolest thing about him is that he pretends to be like reefs, like I don't know, like stuff that like fish would just kind of lay in, just hang out at. He pretends to be the environment. And if you go down there and you try to like beat him up while he's pretending to be the environment, he actually has a defense mechanism where he can like shoot spikes out of his body that will paralyze you. So
oh wow,
he would hit you with that attack. It does like half your life, okay, and you're paralyzed. So you're just laying there, and then he eats you. So now you're dead. So you would get a whole you can only lose 3 times. You get a whole team of people down in there trying to beat him up out of that. He'll paralyze all of them and then eat all of them, and then you lost. Congratulations, you fought this monster for like 11 seconds, and now we lost. And I lost my money because of that, because you have to pay to join the quest. But still, like I have to teach them, don't do these things, man.
Right. Yeah. And all of those things definitely got to be frustrating. Now, I want to ask you this, because I think this is going to be an interesting. I always ask that first question to everybody, because it kind of gives me an idea of where they come from, why they play the game that they do. And, like you were mentioning how, one of the first games that you were playing was Mario, and how, like, I remember playing on the original NES. I remember playing Mario. I remember being on like a little kid on the first level, like spending days not being able to pass it because I was just like terrible. And then, this is the thing. This is the thing that I always tell like younger kids, right? Like teenagers and stuff like that, is that like, you don't understand why it was so hard back then. There was no like easy mode. Like there was just the game. There was press start.
Yo,
and that's it. Like there was the game, and it was just difficult, period, right? And
well, the crazy thing about it is like, now if a game is hard, okay, when the game is hard, what do you think the first fight? Let's say they're playing a game, right? Let's say Dark Souls. It's known to be hard.
Right.
They lose to a monster or a demon, whatever they call it. I've never played Dark Souls before, really. The first thing to do is like, you know what? This sucks. I'm gonna go online and get some help.
I'm
gonna find YouTube, a big brother for me. If your big brother who is not right here didn't help you, that was it.
Yeah.
There wasn't, I'm gonna go Google up a FAQ or something like that. You had to thug it out. It was difficult back then.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I remember that like the first time I played video games, I played Mario, and there was no way I was finishing it. And I would tell my dad, I can't get through this. He's like, I don't even know what you're doing. Like, he'd be like, I don't even know I can't help you because I don't know what you're doing. And I would go to school the next day. I'd be like, guys, how do you do this level? And that's where people started being like, oh, well, you got to do this. You got to, like, that's how I got through it. And that's how you had conversations with other people. And like, people don't listen, kids got it good today. Like, you got people like yourself teaching them how to do things and just giving them like a guide and stuff. And like, I just remember back in the day, like you just had to wait and and find out. You either learn the hard way, or you have to just
or you got lucky.
Yeah, exactly, basically. So okay,
like,
so
I never forget like one of my earliest best friends.
Yeah,
we became friends because I lied. I flat out lied to him, and to this day, I don't think he knows that I lied to him. But I'm gonna let you, I lied to him in his face.
Clip it.
Yo, dead serious. Like, he was like, "Hey," at school, we was at like lunch or something like this. "Hey, do you guys know how to play this game?" It was a Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, which is currently, because of him, my favorite game of all time. I was like, "Yeah, I know how to play that game. Never seen that game before in my life, bro." Like, yeah, I could play the game. I'll go to his house and we was getting rooshed. But the thing is, it was that day. Ever since that day, we became friends, and I would go to his house every single day. And we would play the game over and over and over again, trying to figure stuff out. The game is like incredibly freaking hard.
Yeah.
Okay. It is, to this day, it is still like mad hard.
Right.
But that's how you learn. You had to take someone who was next to you, because you didn't have like hundreds of thousands of people across the internet or whatever to help you out. You had if you couldn't do it yourself, you asked the person next to you. If they didn't know, then you just had to thug it out one way or another.
Okay, so now let me ask you this, because I think this is going to be a good way of viewing it. Let's talk about the difference in generation for like these types of games, because the game you play is, like you said, you there's a trial and error base, and nowadays you got people like yourself who help people out, who guide people out, and have YouTube videos explaining and things like that. But like you said, back in the day, we didn't have that. We didn't have the luxury of that. Most of us didn't even have the luxury of the internet to look it up, right? So we had to go to like GeoCities or something. Like it was, you know what I'm saying? Or we had to go to
show my age here, bro.
Yeah, or we had to go to like our local store to get like one of those ultimate guides that were right? Remember?
Codes in the back.
Exactly. So like you had to do that, right? So I mean, that was difficult enough, right? So what do you think the gap is in skill level between the people who learned that way and the people now, which was basically like, let me just go in and do this, like, because I think there's a difference. But I don't think that like the new generation of gamers, I mean, it feels like they just pick it up, right? But do you think it's because of gamers like you and other people who have those YouTube videos? What's your thought on people's process and how they like? What do you think about that?
I'm gonna give it to you raw, because this is something I've actually experienced very recently. My nephews. Mm-hmm. They're Fortnite fanatics, okay?
Right.
And they're like
most kids
10,
are, right?
10 and 9 years old.
Right.
They are the kids, okay, that are yelling at you through the microphone. Yeah. That's them. I can confirm that. 2 a.m, Cecil is yelling just all sorts of obscenities that he's not supposed to be yelling because he's 10 years old.
Yeah.
But that's him. But I want to say, because we were the original Big Brothers. Okay, right. We were the original Big Brothers. We were the ones who had to figure out how to do a thing. And then other people, like your friends, we taught them, and then their friends taught their friends. But it was like that. It was a linear thing. But now that we got older, we stayed in the games. Okay, we stayed in the game, so we refined our craft, whether it be the game we were playing before, right, and multiple sequels down the line to that same game, or branching genres or whatever. Like, we continue playing video games. Mm-hmm. And through the skills we've learned and honed in the beginning, other games become a lot easier to us. Certain games that taught us how to think out of the box in this scenario, we take that same skill and learn and apply it to other games later down the line to make it easier for ourselves. That's why we ourselves probably feel that games are relatively easy, so we needed exceedingly harder games like Dark Souls that actually punish you for your mistakes to actually get that same level of, it's dopamine in your head, so that way you feel like you accomplished something.
Right.
Now, for the younger generation, if I could say that they are they're weaker in that sense because they don't have the years
Right.
of dozens and dozens of games that we had to,
Yeah.
like I said, take
Like the
collective
trial and error.
information. Exactly. It was
We
years
fell down
of trial and
100
error to the point
times.
to where we
Yeah.
we almost refined a
Yeah.
process of actually playing games flawlessly. But now you have people, us, who have this same knowledge and just give it to everyone else willingly. So that way, if they even remotely run into a problem, instantly fixed. Where back in the day, it took us months, even years to actually get done because it was just us to do so. So the fact that they have the information so readily available to them and they don't have to think or try as hard because not only are me, like people like myself, making the game easier for them,
Yeah.
but games themselves are getting progressively easier. It's not the same issue. If I were to drop my nephews, whom of which I see play these games, and refer to these guides if they get into any trouble, to my like back in the 90s when I had it rough, they probably wouldn't still be playing games today because they get so frustrated so easily
Yeah.
because when they aren't given the answer that they want readily because that's how they're trained now, then they give up on stuff. So
Right.
I want to say the new generation lacks patience, creativity, and the hunger for more. The willingness to go that further mile, that extra month, that extra 2 months, 3 months to learn how to get through this struggle as opposed to just easily give up and go check a guide somewhere. Now, I'm not saying I'm knocking anyone. I'm not really
Right,
knocking
right.
anyone. This is human behavior. Bro, if I'm gonna sit and be a hypocrite about it, I'm gonna say, you know what? Electricity can go. I'm gonna live in a cave somewhere. I'm beating rocks against wood. I mean,
Right.
no. We progress from that so that way we ain't got to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
I'm not knocking how they get it down, but I will say this about new generation players. They have the greatest immediate potential than I've ever seen in any generation ever.
Right.
Like my nephews can bust my ass in some Fortnite today. My nephew
Right.
has actually bust my ass in some Mortal Kombat. I was like, hold on. Like I had to actually try. You know how you like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm let him get a game in. I was like, wait a minute, he blocked that mix up I did. Hold on.
Right.
I casually threw it out there, but he blocked it perfectly. I'm gonna throw it again for real. And if we block it again, I'm gonna have to sit up in my chair. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and
No, I
he
absolutely
beat me.
see. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
I will
funny.
say that they have amazing potential, but they don't like had they had to grow up the way we did, they probably wouldn't have made it. In my opinion.
You're absolutely right. And I think that, I mean, you're right. I think you're right on both accounts because, right, we pay, like, we as a gamers collectively, as like the old school gamers, we paved the wave to like kind of like get the trial and error done. You know, we fell 100 times so that we knew how to do it eventually. And I think the newer generation sees that, and you know, it is now like they saw you fall 100 times and now they do it like 5 times and they get it, right? Because they already saw you do it. And I think that's part of it too. I also think that the new generation of gamers is like really quick to learn a lot of stuff inherently. And I don't know, I you know, to me it's weird because, like, okay, so I have a daughter, she's a teenager, and she is really good at different video games, but when she was a lot younger, right, you know, she was learning stuff like that. And I used to play Halo and stuff like that, and she used to watch me. And then like later on, like the older she got, she played with me a little bit. I used to win and stuff like that. And eventually, you know, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to start sweating because she catching up. And like, you know, I think it was hard, right? Because it's like you become like the person who's like, all right, listen, I taught you. I don't want you to suddenly become better than me, right? But
right, like no one wants the grasshopper to outpace the master. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
exactly.
Like my nephews are perfect shining examples of this because my sister, I don't have any kids myself. I live through my nephews.
Right.
Like my sister, we play games together. Like we were the ones. Like in all these old school games, it was if I tried and lost, I gave it to her. She tried and lost. We were the trial. We went back and forth with it. That's how we got down. And when her children started playing games or whatever, I immediately waltzed in. I was like, listen, I'm going to teach you the ways of old. Let me show you. You know, like I went to give them all the ancient scrolls, everything at once. I had them playing games that help them with the critical thing, like Legend of Zelda, things like that, etc.
Yeah.
But once I started giving them like competitive, they are huge PvP guys. They don't fall in the same vein of me, who likes to play co-op and teach people.
Yeah.
They like to bust ass,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. So when I gave them like games like Tekken, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, that they really clung to that, and they were quick to pick up all the stuff, because it took what would take me years to actually get down like a combo mechanic or something like that. They'd pick it up like that, because
Like that, yeah.
I would show, like, I didn't know what it was, so I had to figure it out. And once I did figure it out, I showed it to them. They picked it up like that, boom, and they was going in at it. So like you said, you're right. They are quick to pick up stuff.
Yeah.
It took us forever to get. They got like super quick. So
Yeah.
they might outpace us real soon.
That's what
Like,
I'm saying. But
we might be 100% outclassed, yo.
but now here's the thing. Here's what I want to talk to you about specifically, because I think you have a unique perspective about this. Me personally, I've always been a PvP guy, but I've also loved co-op games. You know, I think it's just because of the nature of the games we grew up with, right? I think PvP and competitive game didn't really come out till later on with like the first generation of Xboxes and PlayStations, where you could play with other people, you know, you know, back when you had to play on one TV where it had split down everything in four, you know what I'm saying?
I'm screen picking, bro. I'm not, like, bro.
Exactly. Like I didn't really do that until like, you know, GoldenEye and Perfect Dark and then you know, Halo afterwards, you know, all those types of games where, you know, that competitive really came out. But you know, I feel like nowadays those games they're the normal, right? They're your Fortnites, your Apexes, your Overwatch, all those types of games, they're the normal. And so the co-op games, you know, they not that they have gone down, but they're not at the forefront like a lot of these competitive games do. Now, as gamers, right? As us as gamers, do you think that the mentality of like that competitive PvP player where they're looking for that instant gratification, when you go into like, you know, a Call of Duty or an Overwatch, you have a set of guns, a set of abilities or whatever it is, and that's it. You don't have to grind or do anything or learn how to do stuff. You just go in and play, right? Do you think that instant gratification for those types of players kind of takes away from like when you know, from going into a co-op game where they have to kind of learn and trial and error and just do certain things? Like, is that just something where this generation is going to be hard pressed to do? Or do you think that like, because they learn easily, that they won't have a problem with it? Like, what have you been seeing a lot in your type of games?
Okay, so in the Monster Hunter community, one thing that we, like, not just myself, anyone likes to brag about is time played. And when I mean time played, I don't mean like, oh, I got like 100 hours, or I played for like a total of like 4 days, bro. I'm talking about tens of thousands of hours.
Right,
okay,
yeah.
like when you add it all up, you have about 400 days worth on one game over the course of 2 years or something like that. Like my longest played was 172 days over the course of 2.5 years. One game, 100. Bro, think about that. 172 days of sitting in chair, ass in chair, controller in hand.
Yeah.
And the thing is, no one likes to do that anymore.
Yeah.
No one sits down for that long to learn a game, to do something that isn't, like I say, instantly gratifying, like killing a player. Like you go into Call of Duty, turn 2 corners, bam, shot a guy, instant gratification. Took you 3 seconds to get that. You know what I mean? Where in Monster Hunter, you have to first grind for the armor, grind for the weapon, literally find the monster, bust his ass, chase him around, bust his ass again, chase him again, or chase him some more. It's a process. And then eventually, after about 30 minutes, you get that gratification. It takes too long. Okay.
Yeah.
The fact that it takes long, and we now live in a world where everything is go, go, go. That's why games are easier.
Right.
That's why everything is faster. That's why you can sit at the house and get people to bring food to you, that kind of thing. All that plays into games as well. On top of that, if you look at all the top YouTubers and all the top esports celebrities, it's all PvP.
Right.
Fortnite, Call of Duty, Overwatch, etc. You know, they're at the forefront because they know that they can see these players do something very, very cool, really, really quickly over a short amount of time, and
you could just jump in.
That's what they want to do. They are their heroes. You know what I mean? Honestly, I got into making YouTube videos and things like that because of the same thing. This guy was my hero. He could jump off a building And yo, the first time I saw 360 no scope, that shit blew my freaking mind. I was like,
Right.
boom! I was like, wow, that's the craziest thing ever. And I wanted to be like him.
Yeah.
Easier to want to be like someone when their game is like that, where all you have to do is a quick thing to get that. And the easier it is to do it, the more people are probably going to gravitate towards it. In an age now where things that are quicker and easily accessible is what people want to go for. In a co-op game where you have to literally spend like 20 hours and then the game starts, no one wants to really get into that, you know?
Right.
Like an old saying for Monster Hunter is once you have 100 hours in the game, you finish the demo or you finish the tutorial
Right.
or stuff like that. Like, bro, 3 almost 4 full days played, and then I'm okay with actually playing the game now. Actually, that's far too long for most players. I myself don't even have that much time in other shooters in which I know all it takes for me to get a feeling of being like a god is like an hour. You know, you go in Overwatch, you go into Call of Duty, you come out with like 20 kills and like 2 deaths, bro. You walk out like, yo, I don't know what the other team was doing except dying, but your boy was holding it down, and you feel
Right.
so good,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So I want to say the way in which the world is now, where if it's not fast and quick, no one really wants to like be there. And
Right.
even in the newest Monster Hunter game right now, Monster Hunter World, they made it as close as they can to that particular goal. Because, okay, back in the day, in the other Monster Hunter games, you land in an area. The area is vast. Okay, there's many locations, many smaller areas, zones within the larger areas. Let's say you're in a volcano. There's many places that you can go to within the volcano, outside the volcano, in the volcano, on top of the volcano, etc. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you have to search for this monster. In Monster Hunter World, they changed that altogether. Where yes, you just have to search for the monster, but they literally give you a trail exactly where, like, you would find a footprint on the ground, you'd sniff it, and then he'd be like, I know where he is. And then you can open your map and you can pinpoint where he is and just teleport to him. Before, you would have to track him down, know the area, jump off a cliff, jump back on the cliff, you know, because you took the wrong jump or whatever. It would take you like 10, 15 minutes to even get the battle started. Where now you can get the battle started in like 3 to 4 minutes, which is way quicker than before. There's no loading times in between because they clean out all the zones to where back in the day, anytime you went to a different area, there was a loading screen.
Yeah.
The loading screen wasn't long, but it broke up, you know, the feel for the game. Now there's no loading screens, and you can just teleport instantly to wherever the monster is and then fight them, which cuts a lot of that time down. So it, even in Monster Hunter's case, even in co-op games that I'm an expert in, they're slowly making it to where it's easier to get to the action, and you don't have to worry about the entry fee,
Yeah.
paying your first 20 hours to get nice. Where now you can just pay an hour to get nice, which is a bit more enticing than it was before. So my thing is that as games are becoming more streamlined and making it a lot easier, like, I wouldn't say the skill gap is lessening, but they're making it easier for everyone to feel nice. Whereas before you had to actually be nice.
Right.
You know,
And do you
where
think
the game was much harder, or the skill checks, like you having to understand that,
Yeah.
okay, if he does this, I have to block on this side, or if or in not Monster, but like a shooter's case, where if you know, like, map knowledge,
Yeah.
yo, tell me map knowledge is like probably the most important thing in a shooter
Oh,
game.
absolutely.
If
Absolutely.
you know the map, you know where
Yeah.
the enemy's going to be at,
Exactly.
because you know that this side of the map is useless, or this is a very high frag spot because like bottlenecking is really nice over here. Now that games are being geared to where they want the action on screen constantly, they want to lessen the time that the player has to explore and just go to all the deader zones. So even a monster, like I said, they will make it to where you go straight to the monster instead of explore, or you don't have to explore. Where in shooters, they make it to where all shooters are 3-lane shooters. You have high, middle, and low lanes. Like, you know, action gonna be here, here, and here, and nowhere else. So my biggest thing is co-op games like Monster Hunter. They will probably all gravitate towards how Monster Hunter World is built, to where you can get the action on screen a lot quicker, but still feel like the game you came before. So for people like myself who are or veterans of whatever series you're part of, can still feel like they're playing the game they wanted to play, but allowing newer players to actually come in and feel like it's not taking them forever to actually do something. Because it's all about the relative time that you as the player actually have to invest into the game. So if you take way long to get to the good stuff, I don't want to play anymore, which is probably the biggest issue that Monster Hunter had, period. If it took, because it takes 20 hours, real talk, to get to a point where you feel like you're doing anything, like you're being nice. And now that they've lessened that to the point where it's like next to nothing, people are staying. Like the longevity of the game is for them is worth more because it doesn't take that long to actually get in. So co-op games are either going to streamline themselves to the point to where it either feels anemic, or they're going to try and find that perfect balance of making it feel like what it used to be and where it should be going in the future, like Monster Hunter World, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think there's the balance, right? I mean, you as a game developer, you kind of have to have the balance because you see a generation coming through as like this generation that kind of needs that instant gratification, or they get bored, right? Because they don't want to. The grind is too much for them, and they're just like, it's boring. I don't want to grind, basically.
Yeah.
And so they have that mindset. So game developers who make these games like like those co-op games need to be a little more catering to that generation of gamers, because otherwise they'll just kind of lose interest in that game, right? I mean, it's just how it goes. So I guess the lesson here should be that like those types of those old school methods though should be the way to go, but with catering with a little bit of the new stuff, because obviously the kids, that's just how this generation is, right? I mean, it's just part of how it goes. Let me ask you,
so.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's just what it is. But let me ask you this. So you have a really thriving YouTube, and I want to show people, if we can here. Let me see if we can get it. I want to show some people here. Let me see if we can get the thing out of here. Oh no, that's not it. Let me try to get the video of the. We'll get this. There we go. All right, let me show this video because I think this is a really good one of your YouTubes. When I started watching it, I just thought it was funny and I laughed. So I wanted to check it out.
We've all been there, just out on a normal stroll.
Doing some Monster Hunter. I remember this video.
Kicking paratoads, watching our palicos get paralyzed because it's funny to me. Gathering materials and what have you, just hanging out, having a good time. And then... Basil Goose. That's right. It's your boy Dak908. I'm going to show you guys a couple of tips and tricks how to knock this bomber out the sky and keep him grounded for good.
Right. So I wanted to show that real quick because here's the thing about like the a lot of the YouTube stuff, and this is going to go more into like the content creating aspect that I think, because I watched some of your videos, and as somebody who doesn't know the game, I felt like I'd be like, oh, okay, at least I know, like I know a little bit now. Like I can see what, and it's funny and it's engaging. Some of the stuff that I was watching was really cool and funny. Do you think that, what type of balance do you find for yourself to try to engage the audience, especially YouTube, for like funny and informative and stuff like that? What's the mindset that you go through when creating some of these YouTube videos? Because obviously, it's got to be engaging enough for people to watch it, but it also has to have enough information for it to be worth putting out there. So when you go to create a YouTube video, what do you set out to do? What's the type of video that you want to get out there, and how do you do that?
Okay, so I've been given this nickname in the Monster Hunter community as the Adapted Lancer, where I have the ability to walk into any monster for the very first time and then just adapt. Like I'll probably get my ass bust a little bit in the beginning, but I can adapt on the fly very, very, very well. Where a lot of people, even some of the veteran hunters, it takes them a few attempts, a few tries to actually either complete the quest or understand what's going on. I can pick it up mid-quest. And I take that ability. I'm not saying it's a superpower, right, but I just say I take that ability and try to teach people like on the fly as fast as I can. I actually make all my videos in the vein of a best friend or big brother. Like if you were to literally walk up to, let's say you're 10 years old again. Mm-hmm. you're playing Monster Hunter. You ask your big brother, hey, big bro, what can you tell me about this monster? Because I'm about to fight him. I will sit you down next to me and I'm going to have a conversation with you as if I was your brother or your friend.
Right.
And that's how I do it. I do it to where it's okay. Because if you were to just give me information, just if facts, that's boring. I can go watch a spreadsheet, okay, and do the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
boring. So I engage them as if it's a friend. Like I'm your friend, teaching you from a friend's point of view, from a friend's words. That's the most
Right.
important part, a friend's words. Because I'll use my particular vernacular and ebonics, so to speak, when I make my videos, because I want you to know that it's real. This is me, when I
Yeah.
do this. I'm not reading from a script. I use bullet points from time to time to not ramble so much, but for the most part, I'm using my own true words and how I feel when I make these videos. So I teach people in the same vein. I try to tell them all they need to know, all that they can get out of it in a relatively short amount of time, kind of like Cliff Notes, so to speak, while also showing them everything that I'm talking about on screen. That's what when I make my videos, there's no cuts. Like when I'm doing a monster guide, for the most part, there's no cuts, especially when I'm fighting the monster, because they need to see exactly what I do and what I'm talking about. Because in Monster Hunter, every single action is important, every single one. If you block now or block later, you either A, blocked an attack, or B, wasted like four seconds that you could have been using to close the gap on the monster or maneuver around the monster that he himself now has advantage on. So now you're in an even worse position. So every single thing you do matters. So I want to show them everything, like as I play, while I'm telling them all that they need to know. So when I make my videos, I think to myself, how can I convey this message easy enough so that way people can get it, but stern enough to where to let them know that what I'm saying is either Bond, like, wow, I've been word is Bond, but like, like either my words is like not necessarily law, but like really important when I'm trying to come across, or
Right.
if it's something that you can kind of like. If I say, yo, if I was you, I probably wouldn't go in there with less than 200 defense.
Yeah.
Okay. Odds are that's a give or take. It's on you. If you want to, it's fine, but if you don't, that's cool. But if I'm like, yo, real talk, don't do this, I want them to like know that, bro, do not do this, yo. So I don't, it, not I don't, but there's ways which to do this that make it sound like a robot, like pushing your point across in a robotic type of way, like a spreadsheet, like
Yeah.
monotone. I don't want to do that. I want it to be engaged to the point to where, like, if me, like we are actually having this conversation. I'm putting emphasis in my words. So
Yeah.
if you're monotone about anything, then they can either take it as like on level, meaning like, I guess, or like, or again, like a robotic thing. They don't really get a sense of feeling, an urgency from what you're trying to explain to them. So when I make my videos, I try to be as real as real it can be. I try to be myself, because if you're not yourself, then who are you? Okay.
Right.
I want them to know that this is who I am and this is how I do things from the top, like off the rip. I want to give them everything they need to know. So I do lots of research on the monster, whether it be me fighting, like if it's a new game, I have to fight the monster multiple times, usually like 4 or 5 times to get all the ins and outs. But if it's a monster that I fought before, years and years ago, multiple times over, I'll just say, yo, it's this guy. I'm gonna tell you everything off the top of my head, because for the most part, they don't necessarily change.
Right.
So I try my best to give it to them quickly with feeling, and to keep it engaging, funny, letting them know that they themselves can mess up and it's okay. At certain points you can mess up, and it's not gonna like be the end of the world for you. But unless the monster's like really, really, really hard, I will actually lay down, look, guys, you need to do this. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
I like to make my thing flexible too. So the balance is, honestly, try your best to give the player, the viewer, a chance to take what you learn from them and evolve it on their own and match it to their play style. Because my play style is very defensive. Defensive play allows me to see things that others probably don't. So I play defensively. I would teach them defensive play, but I will also teach them points into offensive play. So that way, if they are offensive players, they can take what I just taught them, mix it to their own thing, and then they come out on their own. So the balance is very tough to get, but it's all about being true to yourself, because forget chasing the money or anything. Be true to how you want to explain a topic, okay? And then make it to where it's engaging enough for them to understand. it's kind of a hard thing to balance because even now I struggle with the balance in certain aspects, but I just remember that at its core, be yourself. The people are going to be there and they love you regardless. Like, even if they're new, they're going to love you for doing what you are adamant about. Like, if you have feeling into it, it's going to be okay. Like, it's
Right.
not always about the numbers, but it's always about getting your message across. So, so long as
Absolutely.
you do that, I think you're going to be okay. And that's how I really think about it. So long as I tell them what I feel needs to be said, I'm fine. And the video,
Absolutely.
in my opinion, is fine.
Yeah. So listen, we're about to round out the show in a bit. Before I do so, I want to let chat know if you guys have any questions. Make sure to type it in chat. We'll get to some of them as well. But before we end the show, I have one of the last questions, and it has to do more or less with like the sponsorship with CGL because. You know, this is one of those things that, you know, I've been working with CGL for a while now. And, you know, I've been talking to them about how to grow, how to do this and how to do that. As far as like CGL goes with the sponsorship and all of that, as a streamer, as an established streamer, right, a content creator who's already been doing it for a long time and has done it, what do you see coming out of CGL? Like, what are your expectations as far as the sponsorship goes, and what do you think can grow out of it?
My number one thing in making all these videos, everything that I do, isn't for self gain. Okay. I try to teach people so that way they can get better, so that way they can enjoy the game more.
Right.
Through CGL, I feel as if I can reach more people who probably may not want to know about the game immediately, might have an inkling about what the game might be about, and teach them. Because a fun time in any game is having knowledgeable people on your side and again on the enemy side. There's no fun in just whack. I mean,
I
there's
mean,
fun in it, but you know,
right,
like,
but it does get old though. It does get old because
yeah,
when you
yeah,
do it so
yeah,
long, it becomes like, all right, it's kind of boring now, you know?
yeah. I mean, you wax the whole team, no problem at all. Like, it's like, bro,
Yeah.
these guys, they're nothing. But have a good battle.
Right.
Like, your team doing good, the enemy team doing good, everyone knowing a lot about the game. That makes for a better game in the long run. So my thing is always to reach as many people as I can. Like, it's never been about personal gain. Like I said, I don't want to really personally gain much from it. I just want to help others gain from it. So CGL, I hope to actually get my voice out to other people so that way they can see what this game is about or other things that I have to say. Like, because I mean, Monster Hunter is my main game, but I do like playing fighting games too. Teaching people how to play fighting games is a lot more difficult because the variables are much wider than of Monster Hunter.
Right.
But it's still fun to actually engage with other players and stuff. So
Sure.
CGL for me stands for, well, I'm going to try and use CGL as a means to just broaden not just mine, but CGL's horizons as well. Because
Right.
I myself want to probably dabble in some Overwatch or whatever, but I also want to use CGL as a means to help people understand other games because variety is the spice of life. And teaching as many people as possible, people I've never even seen before, even heard about anything as possible, so that way they themselves can be like, okay, that's not that bad. He
Right.
explains to me very well. I can understand it. That's all I really want,
Absolutely.
to
And
teach the world.
that's great, and I think that's awesome. I think that's the best part about the CGL sponsorship program is that, you know, for a lot of us content creators, it's an opportunity to get to meet people and network with people who aren't in our range of view, right? A lot of times I wouldn't have known of somebody who was playing Monster Hunter as yourself because that's just not one of the games that I've been playing before. But now that I see you, I've seen, you know, I've watched some of the YouTube videos. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Like it's informative, it's engagement. Maybe I do want to play this game. Maybe it is something that I want to get into. So it's definitely something that I can see other people liking and getting into as well. So listen, I think that all of your YouTube videos and the streams that you've been doing, you know, I checked out a few of them. I checked out a few past broadcasts as well, like just to see like what's going on, and it's really cool. It's really engaging. I really like what I see, and I hope to see more of it in the future, and hopefully it keeps growing more and stuff like that. So listen, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And
Oh,
if you
thank
have
you.
if you have anything to plug in your Twitch and YouTube and stuff like that before we head out.
Shoot, as far as plugging goes, just my Twitch because that's I like to hang out there. Have more fun on Twitch. My Twitch is Dak908, DAK908. That's usually my handle for essentially everything else. If you want to look for me in like other platforms, you can kind of find me through that same name and alias, whatever. So
Perfect. That's awesome. That's great to see. I'm looking forward to looking at some of your live stuff. Maybe if I can check it out. Definitely looking at that. We're gonna go ahead and raid somebody at the end of here. So stick around. Tell them you came from Off the Wall, and they'll be really happy about that. And we're gonna go ahead and see if we could raid somebody from the community. I think Scary Dragons is playing right now, so we're gonna try to raid him. But listen, next week we're gonna have a lot more guests. If you want to see who we're gonna have next, twitter.com/dazzle167. That's where you can find all of the updates for the show, and absolutely check that out. And if you haven't followed the channel or put your notifications up, do that as well, so that when we do go live, you know when we're gonna see each other, and we'll have the chat bumping and stuff like that. So make sure that goes on. And until next week, guys, I'll see you guys later. Peace.
Alright, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. Back in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up.